Hi, Mike.
How you doing?
Hey, good. Oh my gosh, Ray.
Hi.
Hi. Long time no see. I still
Right.
can't see you, but
How you doing, Raymond? I know Mr. Williams will not be joining us this evening, so I haven't heard from Maureen or Margaret.
how many do we need for a quorum?
I think we need, we have 6 members, so I think we need four, I think is what it is.
Now, last month we had only 3, but we didn't vote on anything,
Right.
right?
And I'll have to double check because I thought you have to have a majority. So if you have 6 members, 3 is not a majority, is it?
I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying we had a meeting last
Yeah.
month with
Yeah.
3 people.
But I think I didn't record it as a, I actually sent it in as a non-meeting. There's Maureen. And there's Ray.
Hey. Hi, Maureen.
So we have a quorum.
Whoa.
Maureen's iPad. Maybe we'll give it another minute, see if Margaret is able to join us. Give it one more minute.
Hi, Maureen.
Hi, how are
Good to
you?
see you. Good.
Very
Good.
nice to see you too.
Thank
Good
you.
We
evening.
have to go for that hike sometime.
I'd really like to. Wait till it gets a little cooler.
Yeah, I'm not, that sounds real good to me, but we'll do it.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I think we're going to start the meeting if hopefully Margaret will have a chance to join us. I know Dick is not able to join us this evening. So welcome, and just to remind everybody, the meetings are recorded. I welcome you, glad you all could make it this evening. Got a few updates, so I think we're going to get some things done tonight, or at least get some directions started at least. With that, call the meeting to order, and can we do approval of the minutes? Last meeting that we did official minutes for, had a quorum for, was June 6th. I think I sent those out last month, so hopefully everybody had a chance to review them. Or any questions or comments on the minutes? If not, can I have a motion to approve?
I wasn't at the meeting, so I
Oh,
can't.
okay.
I was here, but who could second it except for you, Mike, and you wrote it.
I can second it. So
Okay,
move that.
I'll make the
All in
motion then.
favor? All in favor, aye, and I guess you guys abstain then, right? Is that what it is? Or?
Abstain, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Any communication announcements for anybody? No. Okay. Then we'll go to old business. Fall leadership meeting. So I did have a chance. I finally got together for a little conversation with Bill Folletti to find out what's going on. And for those of you that we kind of talked about a couple things for the fall. One being something with the Cattle Rock, which is more really a Board of Selectmen and EDC function. I mean, our role would be probably just as observers for the most part. But so what we talked about the last time is really trying to line those meetings up so the Cattle Rock information or public hearing that was talked about in the last Ashford Citizen would go before, say, a leadership meeting, because we don't want to, feel that Cattle Rock would probably consume a lot of focus for the community, and we didn't want that to become a kind of distraction or overtake the leadership meeting. But and talking with Bill Folletti today, they're going through the process of the last bit of remediation for the property, and they're actually applying for a grant. The last time they applied last year and they didn't get it. So they're in the process of working with their town council to put that application in, and it's due, I think, the middle of September. So that's kind of, I'm not sure, Bill wasn't sure. I think he would like to have some discussion this fall on the Cattle Rock, but I think as we had talked at our EDC meeting last week, you really need some professional guidance to pull together a solid game plan with facts and information, even go through the process of developing some strategies of opportunities that property could be used for. And that's not just, because you don't want to go into a meeting where you just say, okay, what do people think? And, people come up with ideas and they find out they're not even feasible because of limitations of the property or zoning or whatever. So Bill Fletty, agreed that, that's kind of, he had on the same wavelength. I kind of encouraged him to consider the Brownsfield, which that is considered, has grants that will help pay for some kind of planning activity as well, which would fit right well within the guidelines of trying to develop some ideas for the property to bring forth to the public. So I think, unfortunately, I think that's going to take time. It's the way, just everything seems to take time, and always takes more time than everybody thinks it's going to take. So I think, yes. Go ahead.
We talked a little bit last time about the possibility of handing out a survey at this leadership meeting and asking just like what people would like to see, so we wouldn't get into like any arguments or discussions, but just have something later to look back on to work towards for if there's a future meeting. You said down the road when we know more, a Cattle Rock meeting, which would be separate, but we would just get the information on what do the citizens want, and do most people want something that brings in tax dollars versus not. There's just so many possibilities.
Right. I think I guess where I'm going with this is that my sense of it is that there's at least a desire, but on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, to have a Cattle Rock meeting sometime this fall. But I think there's a lot of work ahead of time. It's already August, believe it or not, and before the summer, the fall is going to be here before we know it. So I think, I don't think it's going to be realistic to get something pulled together, a consultant on board doing that kind of thing. So where I'm going with this is the leadership. I think we're going to have to make a decision whether we move forward with a leadership meeting this fall or what. Yes, go ahead, Ray.
Did you convince Bill that there should be some professional analysis done on that property before it's presented to the public?
Yeah, he agreed. He agreed with that. I think yes, yeah. I think he feels that should be done.
Okay. Second, there is a meeting coming up, I think, on the 8th, indicating all the different applications or uses, if you will, of that federal recovery business.
Right.
Why isn't Cattle Rock's pre-analysis set up in there as part of that selection of funds applied? Here you have 300 acres. You need to have a professional look at the potential of that property. Why isn't that included in that list of uses for that money?
Well, I think two reasons. One, that as I talked earlier, this is a Brownsfield, and within the Brownsfield grant program, you can apply for funding that would go towards just that, developing a plan analysis for the future use of a Brownsfield property. So
is it a defined brownfield?
Yes, that's what.
Who says so?
That's how they've gotten the funding up to the state to do the remediation and work and all the studies.
Point is the $200,000 that was applied in order to do the analysis for pollution, if you will, proved that there was no pollution, at least on the portions that belong to Ashford. And it's the reason why the consent order was released, even with encumbrances, so that the town could take over the property. So I have a uneasy feeling that this is not a true brownfield. If you prove there is no pollution, how can you define it as a brownfield?
Well, here's where it's at. I mean, and I don't want to speak out of school, so I know this is, is recorded, but my impressions in talking with Bill Folletti were that, in fact, the liens that were on the property have actually not been released at this time by EPA or DEP.
That's right.
And so that from the EPA's perspective, they still feel some form of remediation is necessary. That's why the town is looking to apply for a $300,000 grant through the Brownfield program to do this follow-up remediation. So whether you or I or even some of the other reports suggest there isn't much there, or there's some garbage or whatever, the EPA is holding the $5 million thing hammer, and so we have to basically the town has to follow their rules and procedures in order to get to the next step. And and the town had taken over the property because originally the EPA and DEP didn't want to release any of those liens because the town wasn't in possession of the title of the property. So now they got possession. Now they want them to go through these next steps to get to that point with them.
Is it the EPA's encumbrance that actually defines that as a brownfield?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So by the virtue of the fact
my
that the federal
understanding.
government says there's still pollution on the property, we can now describe that as a true brownfield. Is that
Right. That's the funding. That's the
reasonable?
funding mechanism they're accessing. Correct.
Okay. Now, how can you do anything on that property with those encumbrances, both from the state and the federal government? And from the
Well,
point of view of going to the public with all these luscious suggestions that they're going to come up with, when you
That's
know
exactly-
full well that the property has encumbrances the town cannot accommodate.
That's exactly the point why you apply for the Brownfield grant money that provides for planning of what can take place on the property after the remediation. So I guess the long and short of it, maybe I'm not explaining myself well here, but is that, you really can't, it'd be premature to have that meeting with the public until you've done just what you've described already, that you've gone through, you've not only done the remediation, that you've gotten a plan of what the potential activities are, and that the feds have released the property. So I think really what the reality here is you're not going to have a meeting about the Keellock property with the public probably till sometime next year, at the earliest. So that brings me back to the leadership portion, which is say, should we move forward and still have a leadership meeting this fall? Maybe just have the caveat if someone wants to talk about this, say, listen, this is the meeting for that. We can talk about anything but Keellock because there's ongoing activities. So, and that's what I'm proposing out to you guys. My thoughts, I'll just throw out what my ideas would be, is to begin now, this summer here next month or so, to gather all the, basically all the names and emails and contacts for all the people who'd like to have attend the leadership, have the conversation with P&Z about the POCD element of it, and identify, more specifically things that we'd like to, we've talked about before, to put on there as items to talk about, to gather feedback and or spur further interest, with the public on ideas of things they want to focus on. So I guess it's saying is, we still look to do something in October, November with the leadership, because I don't think, I think there's an intent, but I think, you can't go ahead with the Keellock public hearings until you've gotten basically professional help to identify what the limitations, what the potential for development and or other activities are on the property. And I don't see that happening until they get that grant money in place to do that.
I would agree with you. And furthermore, the roundtable meeting is supposed to be in effect a review and comment on the progression of the plan of conservation development, plus seeing that we're coming close to redoing that conservation and development plan. This would be an opportunity for people to put their input into that before you actually get down to the nitty gritty of developing it. So there's two things you can do there.
Correct.
Without even touching on Keellock.
Exactly. So I guess my questions of all you are, do you think we should still try to proceed along those lines and, maybe shoot for October, November leadership meeting, because we still have some legwork to do to get prepared for it. Like I said, not only, the list that I had that unfortunately I got lost on my computer crashed. I have to kind of re-establish, but I think a lot of names and addresses and things have changed. So it's another beating the bushes to try to find out what's available out there. So who's out there to be contacted, and basically refining the approach, having a meeting, a conversation with, planning and zoning about, how they'd like to see POC component be played out, because they're obviously the ones that are in charge of that. We're here just to facilitate that. And then the other items that we've talked about that bring up for public input and do like we've done before, where we kind of ask for things that are outside of the goals and objectives that are in the POCD, which are, where a lot of our projects and good ideas are listed right now. So what are your thoughts, Maureen? What do you think?
Yeah. I follow your thinking on that. Yeah, we first got to find out what we can do before we put it out and see what people want to do.
Right. So yeah, so I mean, the Cattle Rock thing I think is going to happen until they've done that, but I think we could still have the leadership roundtable meeting this fall and work on the the POC, kind of initiating the thought process on getting the POC review and update going, because that's going to be due to the state January of 2025. So you really got less than 2.5 years to go, and it take you 6 months to get everybody organized. And if you really want to do it right, you've got to go through a series of things. It's not something to be taken lightly. It took us like 15 months, Ray, to do the last one, and we were rushing through it. It was a scramble. We ended up still getting it in kind of late. Like we got it in like April or May of that year when it was due. So so what do you think?
We haven't had a lot of meetings in the past few years.
No, I mean, that remains a stumbling block. I mean, I think I didn't read, I think that the Board of Selectmen had just talked about what they were going to do with meetings, but I think it's still a struggle. It's having meetings be on Zoom, and we're struggling at another boards and commissions to get quorums when we have Zoom meetings. So so I don't know. What do you think, Ray?
No, I agree with what you're saying completely. I have one, can I make one more comment here?
Absolutely.
I'm being more verbal than I was the last time you and I touched base. Richard was rather adamant that he felt that the Cattle Rock issues should be run through EDC as a primary. I just want to point out that I didn't say anything at the time of that meeting, but I'd like to state it now that I disagree with him. I think that, if anything, I think the push really ought to be through this organization. I think that's part and parcel of our mission to be a promoter of issues. And I see Cattle Rock as being one that should be promoted by us, OTOF. And I think that ought to be done directly in concert with the Board of Selectmen. As far as EDC is concerned, it can come along, but I think the primary should be this organization. That's just an opinion.
I agree with Ray.
Well, just for, I will say that I'd say legally, the Board of Selectmen really are the ones that are driving the bus. So anything
Exactly.
regarding Cattle Rock, comes from their perspective. And I know that there had been some, I don't want to say promises made, but there had been some discussions a few years back that EDC would be, like the right hand of the Board of Selectmen and trying to help guide some of the activities with Cattle Rock. But I mean, it's really ultimately becomes the Board of Selectmen's decision on how they want to have the other organizations help with the process. But really it becomes the Board of Selectmen are the ones that are in charge, and they're going to determine who they want to. And obviously I think they'll look for everybody to help. So I mean, I think every group will have some role to play. There certainly is there's always a need for volunteers and for people to step up and help. So I think the Board of Selectmen will be more than happy to have everybody fill a role.
Well, I just think that OTOF ought to be as vocal as possible.
Well, I think
Here's
the
the
thing I
thing.
would ask you then, and the others here, is that what role do you think that we should recommend the request of the
Well,
board of
because
selectmen?
I'm on Conservation Commission, I hear a viewpoint there that is completely different than some of the
Absolutely.
viewpoints. Yeah, for the economic development. And so I think maybe it's our place to bring all of the different ideas together and then present that to all the different sides to the select people.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's, one of the reasons the board of selectmen obviously want to have some public hearings. I mean, it's a community decision how to go forth, and I think the property, from my viewpoint and knowledge of it, which is limited, is that it offers something for everybody, and I think that's the thing you want to do, is you want to make sure that it ends up having something for everybody, because I think it'll have those opportunities. So I think, I talked with Loretta at the farmers market on Sunday a little bit about it, and obviously I think we're all in the same wavelength. I think it's just a matter of ultimately, I think if we're gonna, if this group here wants to have some active role in the Cato Rock discussions and how things move forward, I think our best thing to do is say, okay, what is our job description that we'd like for the board of selectmen to appoint us to follow through on. I know what I'm saying is, I think to say, well, we want to help. Well, how do we want to help? I think we got to decide what we would like to be, what role we would like to be. So, I mean, I think we're going to do that. I'd like some specificity, as they say.
Mike, I think probably a good, how would you say, comment might be something you're familiar with. We would act as clerk of the works, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Well, even in this group, I've heard opposing viewpoints.
But
If I take a note like on what Richard said, and then what some people said, even in an email from the Conservation Commission, and they would two different ways, but if you worked together and had both of those on the same property, you figure out how many acres you're dealing with, what part is this, what part's wetlands, or whatever it is, get all the information together, and even get these people talking to each other and not just, the third person, this person said this, just get everybody together and present their argument.
Yeah, they'd be complementary uses and activities. To Ray's point, I think, and I think that's a good point. A clerk of the works. I mean, really, what we could do, and to your point, Glenn and Maureen, is really identify other stakeholders for the Cato Rock property. Those people that you want to make sure you don't miss, that you make sure you get their input, because I think it's there's a synergy that happens when you get even divergent groups together. They may find what benefits that the other didn't recognize in each other's kind of turf, if I'll say it that way. So yeah, I think maybe that's what we need to do is suggest, think about that idea Ray suggested about how we can kind of help pull things together and identify some meat on the bone for that we can maybe present to the board of selectmen. Because I think we're going to have unfortunately, I think it's going to be a little more time than I think we all thought. Just because the wheels of progress, the wheels of federal and state government relative to this project are just going very slowly.
Is this leadership meeting, is it going to also be on Zoom for the people who are have the variant, are worried about getting the variant, or whatever?
Well, I think that's something we got to think about. I mean, I know I would say the way, unfortunately, reading the news and everything else, the way things are going, that I think I think we still have that opportunity, a hybrid type meeting, and I think it's a good thing, because there's people that save on gas, and maybe you just don't want to get out of the house, they want to stay here. I mean, I think these Zooms offer some positive opportunity for more public involvement. So I would say that would be something I'd probably think we should offer. We'd have to set that up, because where we're going to have it, they have to have the technology there to be able to support transmitting the Zoom, and how do you interface that with the people that are there. So yeah, so I think that's
I understand the need for Zoom, but I think it's a lot harder to do any networking or anything like that in this format. And I think that's important, but I understand we have to be cognizant of health issues. So, it's hard to get relationships.
Yeah, we've all lost a little bit of that connectivity with each other. And
Right.
so yeah, I agree. It sucks at times, but we at least
Mike, how is the meeting on the 8th going to be held? Is that not going to be a kind of a hybrid meeting that the Board of Selectmen have called?
I think I don't have I think it didn't say in the citizen that it was going to be a hybrid.
Well, I don't know, it didn't mention it, but it did say that the meeting would be held in the lower meeting room in the town hall. And then it gave the fact that there would be a Zoom address. So
Right.
that might be a definition of hybrid, I guess.
Yeah, that's probably where the technology is versus like where we've gone to Milton Hall. I don't think they've got that set up right now. I know they were looking at that, but yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I think those are some of the the technical issues that we have to think about for a meeting. So I guess I'd put it back to you guys. I think maybe between now and our next meeting, we should if everybody could just kind of identify those stakeholders that you think we should be inviting again to the leadership meeting. If you could actually get some actual names and contact email addresses, that'd be great. Because I know things have changed and you all kind of go in different circles and we all go in different circles. So if you can kind of pull together, even 10 contacts of stakeholders, whether it's business or civic groups or other organizations that you belong to. I know you have a few, Glenn, that you can at least identify the people, the committees you serve on, right? That's a good start. Yes, Richard. Ray.
Mike, didn't we have a list originally for that last meeting that had all this?
I have a paper copy I can pull up, but I had a list, but my computer crashed and unfortunately it didn't get backed up and I lost it in my backup of. So I know I'm gonna have to, if I go back, I'm gonna have to reproduce it based upon emails I sent. But
I don't know.
the point was that was like 3.5 years ago already, believe it or not.
Wow.
I might have a list. I don't know.
It seems like yesterday, but it's too bad we didn't all get sent a copy of it. I mean, get put on a blind carbon copy so we would have that.
Well, maybe you do. I don't know. I looked. Maybe you can all. Maybe that's what you could all do is check to see, because I thought I did. And if I didn't, in the future I will. But in 3.5 years, a lot of people have changed. I mean, organizations have changed, the leadership, the contacts. So I think anything that you guys could pull together for like the next meeting would be a start. And think about how, technically, if we look at the agenda, I think I sent out a draft agenda, but if we look at, the POC as one topic, but there's certainly some subtopics and things that people have thrown out there of ideas, and how do we want to go back and do what we did before with the kind of thing where we broke into groups and people put up the little stickers and then everybody comes back with their top 3 in each group. And I mean, that was one way where we gathered a lot of ideas, but is that what we want to do moving forward, and how would we do that? So I think that's one of the strategies to kind of begin to focus.
Would you just want chairs of these organizations or something like Conservation Commission, because that sounds like it's an important topic now? Would we want to invite all the people? Like
well, I think what we've typically done is we I think we used to say, chair or vice chair or other, 2 representatives that for meeting. So we didn't think to get out of hand, because I think last time we probably invited 50 different organizations. So if everybody brought 2 people from each organization, that would have exceeded the capacity of Knowlton Hall. But not all of them showed up, obviously. But so yeah, I mean, it's early as it'd be a public meeting anyhow. So it's not like we can't help. You have to show ID at the door to get in. It's not going to be that type of meeting. It's an open public meeting. So, but we have to look at be cognizant of the fire marshal's requirements for built fire code, and that type of thing.
Well,
I don't think we're going to exceed that. I don't think we'll exceed that. We'll have some people on Zoom, but what I'm wondering is, because this plan of conservation and development, did you want all the people from Conservation Commission, which is like 7 people, including me and Loretta? It's not that many people, but they
well, remember, the plan of conservation and development is the term that's used by the state statute to, it's a plan of that show, you look at it, it has all those, I think there's 7 or 8 different topic areas. Fire safety, municipal, We have EDC, you have conservation, you have energy. I forget what the other ones are off the top of my head, but yeah.
Well, yeah, also housing.
Infrastructure.
Yeah, infrastructure, housing. But I think the last time around we did, we didn't restrict anyone.
Right.
I think what we did is contact the primary, or made a primary contact to each organization.
Right.
For example, we made a primary contact to the Church of Living Proof there, for an example. We didn't expect to have the entire congregation show up. Okay, but we did find the pastor did show up, if I recall. The same with Westford Congregational, same with the Sportsman's Club, the same with the Salvation Army, blah, blah, blah. So we didn't restrict anyone.
Right.
But we did contact a primary for each organization. Right. And it was up to them to be common sense. To drop 9 people from the Conservation Commission into that room if it's already packed is not smart. It's not necessarily representative, because all 9 people are not going to have a true opportunity, to express themselves. So it'd be good to have maybe 2 or 3 conservation folks walk in with the, how would you say, the proxy of all 9 people and make their comments like they would in a normal hearing. And I think that is pretty much what people did at the time, and that seemed to work out quite well.
Yep. And as an example, you talked about the Salvation Army. I mean, actually define like the who to get the information to. I actually went on all the websites of a lot of these groups. Even like the different lake associations. You go on their website and try to find who. And it's all changed. That's what I'm saying. In 3.5 years. And I'm sure that the leadership over at Salvation Army has changed, and so that's kind of legwork one we have to do. But I think you all go in different circles, and maybe you can pull together your top 10 of contacts between now and our next meeting. That'll give us a good jump start, and we'll see what we got. In the meantime, I'll pull together the list of the organizations that I think we had the last time, and who attended. I'll get you that list, and that'll be a starting point or what have you. So, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's like anything else. So all these meetings, remember what these meetings do? They identify kind of the high level ideas, and then from there, these are things that have fed back into the plan of conservation development anyway. But some of those have borne life, and we've kind of encouraged or facilitated them to some kind of level of being implemented or started or what have you. And so I mean, that's our role, is really to do that, is kind of begin the collectors of all the information and ideas that people have out there, and hopefully get people excited about some things, get the people that want to step forward and work on some things, and then that's how it's been successful in the past. I think it'd still be successful in the future. So any other thoughts on any of that?
I've got lots of names already for but I'm wondering, like, if we should have a sentence there about the goals of this meeting.
Yeah, I think we did kind of. I think Ray might have put some ideas together. I mean, yeah, definitely that's something that we should be thinking about too. I mean, we've kind of circled the wagons on. I think I did send out what we had done the last time, but I mean, it's subject to new ideas and thoughts, and yeah, but that's a good point. When we look at the agenda, we should be really looking at what the goals and objectives or mission of the meeting are. And I think we've kind of talked around it, but I mean, if somebody wants to put that to paper for everybody's review, that'd be great too, because
we might have this from before, from the last meeting, and I don't know if we want to tweak it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's one of the things we need to do, and then I think between now and our next meeting, we'll get better clarity. But I'm pretty sure that we're just going to have to move on with the leadership meeting, and the Cattle Rock thing is going to take its own life, I think, to do it right. And I think that the Board of Selectmen, they want to do it right. So that's a good thing.
And people will bring that up, and we'll have to say, we need to wait after we collect this information.
Right. And, and I think the Board of Selectmen have kind of put some things out. I think they'll probably end up putting out something else in the Citizen, and we can get posted out there. And let people know that it's an ongoing thing, or if there's a matter of sequence of things that have to be done before you can't put the cart before the horse. So because the cart can't pull the horse, so that's what I learned anyhow in school. So anyhow, so if everybody could for the next meeting, if everybody could just kind of pull together some contacts of leads of their organizations that you know of, and contact information, preferably probably an email address is good, and or a phone number too. I think most people respond better to email, I think, because they can do it on their own time. And
Right.
I know when I did phone calling, I didn't always get anybody to pick it up the phone all the time. But then again, look at the agenda. I can send that out again, the draft one, and the commission statement of goals and objectives of the meeting. And then next meeting, I think we need to kind of say, okay, we're going to do this, and then pick a date so we can start advertising and getting outreach to contact people and all that. And in the meantime, I gotta catch up with Jeff Silversmith to see what his thoughts are on the POCD, and tell him that we're trying to facilitate this leadership, but we also like to pull on that as a kind of a starting point so they can start thinking about the getting things organized, getting people be interested in serving on that POCD update committee.
And just to clarify, this is only Ashford. We're not inviting any partners who do work with us in Ashford. Like, Joshua's Trust or ECCD, that we're one of their 36 towns, but we're not doing, this is just Ashford.
I mean,
Invite Joshua's, I think, when I'm not mistaken, we did invite a representative from Joshua's.
we did.
Okay.
And we did the last time invite, we did invite our regional planning agency. If there's people that are partners that are doing work or things, the organizations that are involved in Ashford, I think, certainly you can, they've got involvement in some stake in the town in some way, then yeah,
Mhm.
I think we should invite them.
And again, it depends on the goals of this versus the goals of a future meeting. If it was Cato Rock, then we might want to get input from the Eastern Connecticut Conservation District or, some other regional board.
Yeah, I mean, even things you say, okay, other outside. I mean, you invite the state, the DOT, and state police. I mean, truthfully, they have a big stake in the town because they have facilities they manage and what have you. But unfortunately, typically we don't get much response. But I mean, it's still worth the outreach. We even talked about inviting our state reps and state senator as well. I mean, those are the types of things that we can and should do. I mean, the more the merrier, because they all have a perspective, and it's all, it's the bottom line. You talk about the goals and objectives. To me, the goals and objectives are about bringing about some positive opportunities to the town, and all those people have a hand in helping us achieve anything goals and objectives we put out there. So that, so anybody who can help Ashford obtain or make things better and a variety of things that are listed in the POC or any other projects you may think of, then yes, I think we should extend an invitation. It can't hurt.
Mhm.
We had the post office last time too, you remember?
Yes.
Yep, we had, another thing is Sustainable Connecticut would be a good participant.
Right. No, I talked with Loretta a little bit about things like that too. So yeah, absolutely. And we can invite your cat too, right?
You like my cat?
I like your cat.
There he is.
Wow. He doesn't head up this way. I see a black cat behind my house every once in a while. He stays
It's not
indoors.
him.
Okay, good.
He's a very
Spoiled rotten indoor
stay on
cat.
his own property.
Yeah, good. Okay, any other thoughts? If not, I really do appreciate you all taking time out of your schedules and meeting tonight. And I think we'll kind of move forward in that direction, and so we can finally get some things going. But I think we got a lot of legwork we got to do here to get to that point and launch point. So all good. Thank you, Maureen, Gwen, Raymond.
Thank you.
It's good seeing you all.
Yep.
Someday in person soon, hopefully.
Take care.
Okay,
Good
take
night.
care. Good night.
Glad you guys could make it.
We had a quorum. Take care.
Bye.